One thing I take ownership of as a man is my failures as a husband. That has nothing to do with me as a sheriff.
Well, Clay County Sheriff Darryl Daniels fighting back now against 4 charges brought against him from the state attorney's office. Those do include tampering with evidence and knowingly giving false information to law enforcement, connected to a 15-month investigation launched by FDLE. There's his booking mugshot there. Sheriff Daniels was given an ultimatum by a special prosecutor to either resign or be arrested. So he turned himself in for booking and then returned home, released on his own recognizance. Renata DiGregorio standing by this morning with more on these charges and where we go from here. Renata?
Good morning. In that Facebook video, the sheriff takes the same stance that we hear from his lawyer, questioning the timing of his arrest. The charges he faced are 3 felony charges and 1 misdemeanor charge, tampering with evidence, and 3 counts of knowingly giving false information to a law enforcement officer.
Essentially charged me with things that are such that it's baffling to me, because it takes a stretching of the imagination to understand it personally, knowing that I'm innocent.
The arrest comes more than a year after the start of an investigation launched at the request of State Attorney Melissa Nelson. Back in May of 2019, Daniels had his mistress arrested on allegations of stalking. He admitted to having an affair which began when he was the director of the Duval County Jail and she was a corrections officer. She resigned. Last month, Nelson asked for the investigation to be reassigned to a different prosecutor. Because her employee could be called as a witness, there was a conflict. Brad King from Florida's 5th Judicial District took over, leading to the 4 charges. His charges showed up in the Clay County jail log online shortly after his arrest, but were taken down shortly after. I'm Renata DiGregorio, First Coast News, on your side.